Good morning. My name is Tamika Gray. I'm the Deputy for Small Business for the district. Hopefully the previous program managers have whet your appetite by showing you some of the opportunities we have coming up. And I'm hoping that you also are clear that some of the acquisition strategies that have not been formally set will be set by the process of our market research efforts. We talked about how sources sought notices is one of the forms of market research that the Baltimore district uses. So we need you all out there, all the various socioeconomic categories, to actually respond to those sources sought notices so that we can ultimately set these requirements aside in your favor, specifically as a hub zone, service disabled, 8A, women owned in some cases, and then ultimately a small business set aside as well. Last FY, we did about $271 million in awards with our small business concerns. We were actually green in both the small business and small disadvantaged business categories. That means that we not only met the statutory goal, but we also met a higher goal set by the district. My commander discussed how the Baltimore district is large. We're diverse. And I'd like to highlight, in comparison to other districts, divisions within the Army Corps of Engineers, how large we are. We're actually, for last year, we obligated the largest amount, 7% of all of USACE dollars. We're compared to the Huntsville Center. Huntsville actually procured $1.8 billion and obligated that amount of money. We were at 1.1. Out of the North Atlantic Division, that includes Philadelphia, Norfolk, New England, and New York, Baltimore District actually obligated 51%. So we're pretty large. And in terms of small business dollars within NAD, we did the largest amount. So we feel as though we have some bragging rights. I'd like to get a feel of the audience. How many of you are hub zone firms? Hopefully everybody is paying attention. Look at all of the hub zone firms in the room. What about my service disabled veteran-owned small businesses? Excellent. Women-owned small businesses? Wow, good turnout. Small disadvantaged businesses, well, basically my 8A folks. Wonderful. And how many large businesses do we have in the audience? Okay, so these are our prime contracting goals for this FY for small businesses. But for you large businesses that are in the room, we also have subcontracting goals. So you've canvassed the audience. Hopefully you'll be able to make partnerships with some of the hub zone, 8A, women-owned, service disabled, and our small businesses, because you also have an obligation to meet a certain percentage in reference to your particular contracts. The way that the Baltimore district has been doing so is in our unrestricted acquisitions that are based on best value trade-off procurements, FAR Part 15. We use what's called a small business participation plan evaluation factor. And that factor is basically, it's evaluating your use of small businesses, and we're looking at how much the percentage-wise of the total acquisition value you have determined to be subcontracted out for each of these socioeconomic concerns, to include veteran-owned small businesses. So I just wanted to point out that there is an opportunity here during this industry day to, again, come up with some different types of partnerships so that you all can help us to meet not only our prime contracting goals, but our subcontracting goals as well. Also like to get a feel of how many of you have previously competed for Baltimore district contracts in the past. Excellent. So how many of you are interested, if you have not already done so, in competing for future requirements? Okay. Well, the next part of my presentation will hopefully give you a few pointers to assist you in not only doing so, but to ultimately land you a contract with the Baltimore district. I actually solicited the help from the chief of our acquisition construction admin branch, who's responsible for putting together the criteria, the Section 100s for our construction requirements, the evaluation factors on what we're going to evaluate you. So the next few slides hopefully will help you out a little. Oh, but before I get there, I guess I'm a little excited. These are our accomplishments as of last week. We're green in the small disadvantaged category and the women-owned small business category. We're actually red under the small business category because of incrementally funded contracts. We just obligated some dollars to those contracts that were awarded in the past years. However, we're on target, and my colonel is making sure that we're putting parameters in place to make sure we're on target to meeting those goals that were in the previous slide, that 25% small business goal, which is actually increased from last year. It was 23% last year, and now we're trying to challenge ourselves with the 25% goal. And again, Colonel Jordan is making sure that we are realistically doing things and being proactive so that we can go ahead and meet that goal. So let's go in to some of those competitive procurement tidbits. One of the biggest mistakes made in competitive procurements is by not responding to everything that the solicitation has required. Each solicitation is unique in its own right. Each solicitation may have different evaluation factors. Some of those evaluation factors include your technical submission, small business participation plans, subcontractor use and selection, past performance, and of course, price. So if we're focusing on the technical submission, this is the most subjective submission of them all. This is actually the opportunity for you all to sell your capabilities to the government and to make sure that you're tailoring your response to each of the solicitations. You're not just submitting generic submissions or copying and pasting from requirements that you submitted in the past in an effort to land a new contract. So what is the key? Try to respond to the solicitation by answering 3 questions: the what, the how, and the why. By answering these questions, you're actually filling in the gaps. Your proposal is telling the complete story. It's also helping to ensure that the evaluators, they understand what your technical submission, your solution is. They don't have to fill in the blanks on their own. What have you done? This pertains to the past performance. Make sure that you explain what makes your past performance relevant. Simply providing a checklist that states that, hey, yeah, I did in the past similar requirements that the government is asking for doesn't necessarily set yourselves apart from other contractors. Ensure that you're looking at the complexity of the requirements you completed in the past, whether or not the dollar values are close or equivalent to what is being asked for in this new solicitation. Checking out to ensure that it's of similar work. By submitting a thorough response, this ensures to set yourself apart from others and hopefully ultimately land you all with a contract. What will you do? So this pertains to your technical and management approach. Generally discussing on-site management, quality control, scheduling, doesn't necessarily fully demonstrate that you understand the intricacies of that particular solicitation. So we want you to be specific, focused, and again, don't talk in generalities. How will you do what you have committed to? Evaluators are trying to ensure that you've thought about the implementation of your technical commitments. If you don't have a plan on how to make it happen, the what becomes irrelevant. So let me just repeat that. If you don't have a plan on how you're going to make it happen, the what becomes irrelevant. We need you all to be detail-oriented. Ensure that you're putting everything in the solicitation that is selling yourselves and that is demonstrating that you understand what the solicitation entails and how you're going to provide that solution. Again, don't leave it up to the government evaluators to try to determine or to figure out what your solution is, to make assumptions. Why? The why may be the most important question of them all. Your explanation as to why you believe what you've committed to and how you're going to fulfill those commitments is in the government's best interest. Explain the rationale behind your approach, why your approach will work. You may have something innovative, something unique, something different. All of that should be included within your submission. Remember, you're trying to set yourselves apart from others. You're trying to ultimately land a contract with the Baltimore district. This is my last slide. And I'd actually like to introduce Valerie Robinson from the SBA.